Today on This Week Health, we're in the people business. We're dealing with technology, and the technology has to be successful. But if we don't get the people part and the relationship part down right, we will fail. You could have the best technologies in the world, but you will fail if you don't have the right people. Welcome to a Solution Showcase. Today, I have the privilege of talking to Jeremy Ognall, who is the founder of Gordian Dynamics, which is a project management firm that focuses in on healthcare security project implementation. And one of the reasons it's my pleasure is because when I was CIO, I utilized Jeremy's services, his company services, Gordian, for a lot of our projects. And he was a great partner with me. So we're probably going to have a lot of fun reminiscing a little bit and talking about rugby and how rugby applies to the security paradigm and things to that effect. So this is going to be a fun one, and I hope you enjoy. My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16 hospital system and creator of This Week Health, a channel dedicated to keeping health IT staff current and engaged. You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, you name it. We are there. So you can find us there, or you can go to our website, thisweekhealth.com, and subscribe there as well. And now on to our conversation. All right. Today we have a solution showcase, and we are meeting with the founder of Gordian, Jeremy. Welcome to the show. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this. We're actually doing a fireside chat. Look at that. It's kind of really talented. I think it's a little more a little more silly than it is on. We are actually in one of the 229 events. We're going to have a conversation today that I'm really looking forward to. We go way back. When I was CIO at St. Joe's, Gordian did an awful lot of work for me at St. Joe's. And we were just talking about it. It's hard to describe. I mean, do a lot of different things. And so people would say, what does Gordian do? And really what it did for us was you specialized in putting together teams to solve really complex problems. Yeah, I'd say that that's true. A lot of it was driven by you and your writing board craziness. The number of times I've been no problem ever. So, Jeremy, can you do anything for this? Well, yeah, it wasn't even that. I'd be walking by your office and you'd be, Ognall, get in there. And then you'd walk me through the writing board. But, there's really good stuff there. So, yeah, I think in most cases, we built custom teams to solve the problems, as you said. So what kind of work does Gordian do now? Well, most of our work at the moment is focused around cybersecurity, really with emphasis on agile project management within the security space. So all enterprise health IT cybersecurity. So why would I just throw project managers off? Well, it's a good question. Firstly, getting the right project manager in the cyber space is not always easy. A lot of people who are in the project management designation and qualifications, they're not necessarily adept at running an enterprise level project. There are some who are, but I can tell you a lot of the enterprise health systems that we do business with, many of them have their own PMOs, and they still come to us for our people, for our teams, for our leadership. And so it's that specialization on healthcare and healthcare technology, cybersecurity. We do other projects as well. Cyber is probably the gamut of our work right now, which is understandable if you look at the challenge that CIOs and CISOs are facing, either one or two with staffing. The thing I will say is the thing I've always really appreciated about you is your coaching background. So we're coming up on the season. You're a rugby coach. Tell us a little bit about your rugby background. It's definitely part of my background. I grew up playing game in England, played all the way through college, went to Southern California, played there. Once the body failed me, total hip replacement, etc. It was time to put away childish things and focus on becoming the best coach I could. And I've been coaching rugby for about 20 something years now, but really ardently for about 15 years. And had a lot of success. I'm currently coaching at Claremont McKenna College up in Los Angeles and having a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun. I used to love those stories of coaching those teams because you guys don't necessarily go out and recruit and bring in the top rugby players. A lot of times you're just, hey, does anybody want to play rugby? They come in and you coach some pretty tough teams. Yeah. Molding is probably the right term, right? We get these young men coming in and we mold them into rugby players. And again, a lot of it is rugby is the sport, rugby is the conduit, but the reality is it's to try and make them better men
off the page. It's not just all about the white lines, but yeah, we've had a lot of success. I mean, luckily we do get to do some recruiting now. I've got a few recruits this season, which I'm very, very excited about, but mostly it's all day and trying to pull team together into a high performance environment. As you were building Gordian out and delivering those services, did the coach come out? Oh, it comes out all the time. I think some people wish it didn't, but I'm always coaching. I coach my kids on daily life, not just in sports, probably more than I parent. But yeah, it's really, as I say, it's really part of my fabric. And I couldn't do what I do if I wasn't an effective coach.
All right, cybersecurity projects. What are we looking at here? I mean, the complexity of these projects is increasing every day. So, what kind of projects are we talking?
Well, talking everything across the continuum of cybersecurity, it's really about how do we, work with our healthcare clients to try and prevent any intrusions. So it could be collaborating with them on red team exercises to get them to prevent intrusions. Obviously, red team is nice ethical hacking, I guess. So working on those and then working on any of the remediation that needs to be done as a result of that. And a lot of it, and I think this is where the coaching comes in too, is a lot of it is working with all of the different technology vendors, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Tanium, Proofpoint, name it. It was so many solutions, Microsoft, obviously. There's so many solutions that these enterprise customers have, and it's how we pull all the teams together from the various vendors to drive to a robust world-class solution to lock down their environment.
I was going to ask you about reference flags and that kind of stuff, and I'm actually one of reference flags. If I think about it, no, I mean it really is interesting because back in the day, I really relied heavily on you for building out those teams, those professional teams. And one, a lot of times you're hiring younger people, and so your coaching really did come into play. But I remember we threw things I do like our one pass or easy pass, the tap in, tap out, and move around. I remember we did that project, and the goals were pretty aggressive around it. It was like tap in, tap out, first login less than a minute, each subsequent login less than, did I say less than 10 seconds? Maybe 10 seconds was your final goal, yes. And it was less than 10 seconds.
Right. 3 images, all that's across the end front.
Well, that was different projects, but yeah, I did come back to you at one point and say we have way too many images. We had to get those images down. I also, at one point, because you were doing so much stuff over there and handling those projects so well, remember looking at you say, hey, our Citrix environment is not that good. Yeah, I'd love for you guys to come in and really put your arms around Citrix as well. Do you still sort of, I mean, do you still drive that kind of relationship of dialogue with the CIO or dialogue with the VP of infrastructure and operations and say, where are your challenges? We can build that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Where it can. I think it's interesting because I don't think a lot of CIOs are necessarily as trusting as you were. I think you came into, I think one of the things that helped us be successful there is we were very much in crisis management mode. You were in crisis management mode and you knew that you needed some help and you were very quick to recognize that. And I think in a lot of cases, it's hard to recognize that early on and say, I'm going to bring this guy in and see man and hand over some of the keys of the kingdom. But yeah, when we get to have healthy conversation with CIOs, I think they see our capabilities across the spectrum, whether it's cybersecurity, agile project management, the Microsoft stack. Well, there's a method to my madness, right? So you got the first 90-day projects, hit on that. We talked about that before. Then the East Pass project. So like I gave you all 16 hospitals and away to go. It was first one you had to win over the docs. You guys did the round and around a lot of our hospitals, went over the docs before we even started to roll that product out. Yeah. Yeah. Once the docs saw it, it was hard to keep it. Oh, they were clamoring for it after they saw what it was. Cause they used to have to go into every machine, type in your password and only throw one, but, or even handwritten notes. And actually, I think in some ways, solving the doctors for us, it really started with a lot of the nurses and nurse practitioners, getting them to buy into the vision of what, in this case, you were trying to accomplish and that we were helping enable. And once we get them to understand it and they became the power users, and then they, in a lot of cases, would train the doctor and educate the doctor on why this was a value to him, because they listen to their nurses and PAs far more than they listen to our team. But collectively, we got them across the finish line.
So are you generally brought in when the project is failing or at the beginning of a greenfield project, or it's just all?
I think it's across the board. I think one of the things that really does help set us apart is we're very good. I have to use the right nomenclature. I was going to say we're very good at failing projects. Right. We're not good at making projects fail. We're good at the projects that are failing and coming in, because again, it's a different challenge. Great field is great. If you're part of it early on and you're engaged with the architect team and everything, that really helps. But sometimes I like the challenge of a CIO or a CISO who's got a failing project. He's got a lot of investment in technology. Maybe they've had a breach or they're on the precipice of a breach, and they say, we can help. And those are fun. They're challenging. They keep up at night. But
One of the work you threw in there early on was agile project management as opposed to waterfall. Why is that a distinctive what Gordian does?
well, I think first I'd say a lot of the projects we end up doing are what I'll call a hybrid. It's a buzzword today, it's agile, and it is, with Scrum methodology and Kanbans and everything else. So I think the ability to truly be agile, to have the daily cadences, the Kanban, see what's going on, course correct as you need be. But I still think on some of these large enterprise ones, there's definitely elements of waterfall. So for us, as we look to hire people and bring them on board, we really like people who can operate in both the waterfall and the agile world, because I think you need to.
A lot of health systems I know have moved to agile, and one of the reasons they did was we went through the pandemic, and the whole organization went into agile like almost overnight, because that's the best methodology for a crisis response.
Yeah.
Is agile. But I think what they've learned over time is, hey, this was really good from a communication standpoint, from a prioritization standpoint, from a just getting things done standpoint. Is
Yeah, no, I think it is. And I think in a lot of cases, because these are such big projects, it tends to start with a waterfall approach, in the sense that you're looking at 1 to 2 to, in some cases, 3 years of the overall life cycle of the project. So you start at waterfall and then you break it down into manageable chunks of agile. And that's how we run.
what leads to successful projects? My follow-on question is going to be, what leads to projects that fail? What leads to successful projects?
The biggest thing for me is the people. I think the people, and obviously not just from our team, I'm talking about the whole team, the collective. So the ability for any third party company like ours, technology providers, let's say the Microsofts, the CrowdStrikes, and then your internal teams, for us to be able to mesh and agree on a common goal, and then set aside any differences or work through those differences, maybe some healthy contentions, good occasionally. But I think getting those people to buy into the vision and work together collaboratively on a daily basis is critical. And then the other thing is remembering the vision and the business case it was sold on. I find a lot of times, I talk to a lot of healthcare systems where I say, sharing your business case and your ROI with us that it was sold on, because ideally we should be able to try and present that at the end to show back to the board who funded it that it was actually successful. So multiple elements, but people working together in high performance environment to me is key.
Failed projects? What characteristics do you find in failed projects?
Lack of sponsorship is huge. If we don't have the CIO or whoever the executives,
Well, it really goes back to the business case, right? If the business case is solid and it's been sold at whatever level it's sold at, generally it's going to be prioritized and funded in a way to do it. But if it's like, if it's like dark money, if you will, if it's like, hey, we're funding shadow IT, and a lot of times those projects will get going and they just sort of die on the vine because it didn't go through the proper channels, did not get the proper funding, and those kind of things. And so it just, everything starts to break down pretty rapidly.
I think that's the initial breakdown. I think the other side of it is, I talked about the engagement with the sponsor. So it's great that you can come up with a business case, fund it, and say, okay, German team, go. But we want to stay engaged with you throughout the process because it's not going to be perfect. There are absolutely got to be bumps in the road. And I've had an old mentor of mine, I guess, in the business years ago, I heard him say, that in IT, where firefighters by day, arsonists by night. And I think it's important that this case, you as the CIO understood that there are going to be things that happen that are going to set us back. But as long as we have a mitigation plan and are willing to get our teeth into resolving it, you'll bear with us. The CIOs who are more resolved, who are privy to all the inner workings of the project, I think that it makes for a tough atmosphere, really does. The toughest project you've ever worked on? Toughest project? Well, I was going to say it was the 90-day project that your team that you inherited could teed up that just was really going to be 2 years. So that was an epic. That sounds like my team. It wasn't done in 90 days. I think the toughest project we talked about that project. There's no way that project was done, I imagine. Now we're stripping dates off the calendar. We're down to day 6, so we close. No, we haven't even had to kick off the ticket. I think the biggest one was probably Easy Pass at St. Joe's with putting Menutech out there across your 16 hospitals, and then obviously in the medical centers as well, because it was just such a fragile environment and it was so new and it was very political at times. We had a lot of late sleepless nights. You and I had a lot of meetings late in crappy restaurants where you were whiteboarding how we could improve or napkining. I was just going to say, no, I didn't carry the weight. It was a napkin. But I think that was the most challenging, but it was also the most rewarding. So, because when you get to the end and you see the reaction of the physicians and the clinicians, you're like, it was worth it. How do you integrate? I guess you became a integral part of the team. How do you integrate? Every health system's a little different. Their communication structure, the way they approach projects, the culture, the politics, and we'll like to say the word, but anywhere there's people, there's politics. Sure. So how do you integrate into a team and really understand how they operate as a system? Well, I think you've got to ask a lot of questions. I mean, it can't just accept because you've got a mandate from a CIO that everyone's going to be, oh, welcome. Often it's the reverse, actually. They view that perhaps you're a threat to their job. So you have to go in and show your character, show your value system, show your knowledge, and really indicate to them that you're there to work in partnership with them in collaboration, not here to take their job. You're actually here to help them be more successful and that they'll get recognized by engaging in a successful project. But there's a lot of nuance and a lot of people think it's black and white. But as you said, we're dealing with people. There are so many shades of gray. And as I say, I think one of the things that I bring and that we bring is shades of gray, not 50, but shades of gray are what we do. Yeah, there's an awful lot of nuance. This stuff. Are you still coaching? You're still an active coach, or you're an active coach. Yes. How does the team look this year? I'll find out next week. We actually get into some season stuff this weekend, but I'm here with you at this conference, thankfully. But we start in earnest next week and we'll see. I feel really good about it. It's hard. COVID's affected a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's been an absolute tragedy in this world. For me, on a micro level, just the loss of nearly about 2+ seasons for these young men. Many graduated, didn't even have graduation ceremonies. Is really tough. So I've got a responsibility to make this season extra special for those, especially those seniors who are going to see it out. Yeah, it is. It is tough because you get with freshmen, you get them excited. They're so green and you're teaching them. And then their sophomore year, they're starting to come into their own and they're looking forward to their junior and senior year. For some of them, you skip the whole season. Sure. And it's the same in the professional world too, right? You bring on some, like you said, sometimes from a little younger, more junior people with the idea of growing them and developing them. And then things happen. And that's happened in the COVID world, professionally and in the rugby world. And we've just got to be able to, again, be agile and think on our feet and come up with some different approaches. So I just have to accelerate the learnings for the team so that we're effective this season. And I'm expecting nothing less than success. What's the problem solved?
Like, if I ask you for the one sentence that people go, that's the problem I solve, I need to talk to Gordy. What is the one problem?
Yeah, I think our biggest problem solving ability is delivering complex projects. We're just so adept at what we do. We bring the right skill sets to bear. We mold teams. We integrate teams with you. We understand the complexity. We understand the challenges. We understand, especially in healthcare, there's a patient at the end of everything that happens from a technology standpoint. So we need to get it right. So I think that understanding, and it's our values. I mean, we carry ourselves. A lot of people can talk values and have values on their wall, and then you interact with them, and it's like, whoa, that doesn't quite resonate. We've been through a few of those, but I think living to our values and our culture is absolutely key. And we don't shy away from any challenge. I mean, when you threw some challenges at us, it was a little intimidating, but once we got our teeth into it, it was very successful.
So how did you find out more about Gordian?
Want to talk to them? I'll give you my cell phone number. You have my cell phone number. You can share my cell phone number. But for me, it's almost like conversations like this. It's not trying to sell something.
That's what I loved about you. I mean, it was from the first time we sat down, it was, tell me what you do. And it's like you wouldn't answer the question. You were just looking at me going, I solve problems. What kind of problems do you have? And the way I start, then I'm like, all right, I'll play your game. I'll start talking about some more problems. I start talking about some more problems. You're like, all right. So, and you'd ask some really good questions. And then we started to launch into, hey, here's some of the things I do. And I was like, okay, interesting. I didn't give you a keys to the kingdom like the first time.
You didn't know. But it's funny that you saying that, because I think that's the biggest thing is we're in the people business. We're dealing with technology. Technology is that medium, and the technology has to be successful. But if we don't get the people part and the relationship part down right, we will fail. You could have the best technologies in the world, but you will fail if you don't have the right people and you don't have trust. And you gave us an opening, I'll put it that way. And we blew the blending doors off it. And then you gave us more and more. And so again, for me, it's just a conversation. If I can sit down with the CIO, here's what we do, here's what we're good at. No, we don't do that. No, we're not the EMR experts by any stretch. But here's our core sweet spot for us. If they'll listen to that, I think we can be jointly successful.
I think the last thing I'll mention, I appreciate, I hope you're not doing this anymore, but there was a lot of times I found you on site doing stuff. It's like your team was there, but so were you. I guess that's part of the coaching here to say, hey, this is worth doing. And I'm very hands-on in a lot of what I do. And I think there's a fine line between being sort of a micromanager and being hands-on. So I want to give people enough room to be successful, but I want to be there for them as they run into challenges and things they haven't experienced before, and be able to run something by me. So I love being engaged. But when we get opportunities, we don't close the deal and then walk away. I mean, we live, eat, and breathe it. We did it with you for years and did a lot of living, eating, and breathing, and not enough sleep. But we got a lot of stuff done. Jeremy, thank you for your time. My pleasure. Thanks for having me here in this beautiful location. I wish you luck with the 229 for sure. Appreciate it. I love sitting down with Jeremy and hearing all the things that Gordian is doing today, and just reminiscing about some of the things Gordian has done with me in the past. Plus, I just love the rugby stories as well. They really tie everything together. I know I always enjoy those conversations and learn stuff when I sit down with Jeremy. I hope you benefited as well. I want to thank Gordian for this episode and investing in our mission to develop the next generation of health leaders. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.